Hello and welcome everyone. In this video tutorial, we will discuss what are multiple contexts, what are template tags and what are filters in Django. So we will start off this video by understanding what is a context variable, and we will understand how we can return a context variable in a Django template. Then we will discuss how we can return multiple context variables in a single Django template. Then we will discuss about some of the common and useful template tags, and in the last we will discuss about some of the filters that we can use in our Django template. So without any further delay, let's jump to the very first topic and let's understand about the context variable. Now a context variable is a dictionary where the keys variable's name and value is represented the keys value. Now Django combines the context that a user passed in with the dictionary that the context processor returns. In addition, a context is a mapping of a variable name to a variable value that is supplied to the template. Now we can understand this concept related to context variable better with the help of an example. So what we will do, we will create a view and then we will map that view to a URL. Now what we will do in that view, we will create a context variable and then we will understand how we can return that context variable to our Django template. Now for this example implementation, I will use my previous Django project only. So my previous Django project was course system. So here you can see I have opened my Visual Studio Code. Now in this you can see course system is the project directory, and in this we have created one application with name home. Now I have opened this view file of the home application. Now let's first create a view. So we will create a function based view. So I will type def index and then in the view I have to pass the request. Now let's here declare a variable. So I will declare a variable name and let's set its value to some string value. I will name it as Adam. So here you can see I have already imported this render function which is there in the Django.shortcuts module. Now what this render function will do, it will render the HTML page whenever a URL is being mapped to a view. So very first parameter to this render function is again the request. After request, the next we need to pass the HTML page. So my HTML page is index.html, and then after this we need to pass the context variable. And how we can pass the context variable? We need to pass the context variable as a dictionary where the key represents the name of the context variable and the value will be the actual variable. So here you can see I have defined in this way, where I have defined this name key, and again I have defined this name variable. So what this view will do, whenever this index view will be triggered, it will return this value of name variable back to this index.html page. Now let's see this index.html page. So here we have already set up our templates. In the templates I have this index.html file. Now in the body, what I will do, I will define one heading. So let me define the heading as welcome to Python guides. Now let me provide style to this as well. I will center align this. So I will write style is equal to text align, and here I will pass value as center. And after this, let me define one paragraph where I will write a simple text. So here I have written welcome. Now I basically want to print the name that I have been passed from my view. So to use that context variable in our template, we need to use double curly brackets, and within the double curly brackets we need to specify the name of the key. So I will type welcome and then the name of this, and let me center align this paragraph as well. So I will type style text align, and again I will align this text to center. Now with this we have configured two files. We have created our view and then we have created our template file. Now as you know, it is important to map a view to a URL, and for this I will open the urls.py file which is there in the home application, and in this I have already defined this path. So what I have done, I have used this path function, and in this I have defined the path as empty string, and then I have defined the view and then the name of the view and then the name of the URL. Now let me open the terminal. Now what I will do, I will open the terminal and I will run the development server. And once the development server is been started, we need to open this URL. Now from here, if you are following our previous tutorials, you know I have mapped this index view to index URL, and I will simply hit enter, and here you can see the result. Now welcome to Python guides is the text that we have specified as our h2, and then we have defined this paragraph, and here you can see welcome Adam is being printed. So in this way we can use context variable in our Django project. Now let's come to the second topic of this tutorial, where we will discuss how we can return multiple context variables in the same template. So till now what we have seen how we can return a single context variable to a template. In the next example we will understand how we can return multiple context variables to a same template. And for this again we will utilize our project and we will utilize the same example. So here I have opened my Visual Studio Code, and again I will move back to my views.py file. Now this time what I will do, I will define first name as well as last name. So I will type first name, and again let me define another variable as last name. Now let me change the value of this first name. Let me change it to Tony. Let me change the last name as well, Tony Stark. Now how we can return multiple context variables? For this again we have to define all these things in a dictionary, so that's why I'm using curly brackets. Now within this curly brackets what I have to do, first I need to define the key. So I will name that key as f underscore name, and let me map it to the value of first name. Now in the same way let me define another key with name L underscore name, and I will map it to last name. So here you can see what we have done in this view. We have defined two variables, first name and last name, and then we are returning both of these variables as a dictionary to this render function. Now let's see how we can use these two names in the template. So what I will do, I will modify this name to f underscore name, and again let me use both the names here only. So here you can see instead of specifying name I have specified f underscore name, and I have also used L underscore name which represents last name. So I will move back to the web page, and here let me refresh this page, and here you can see the result. Now let's come to the next topic, and next let's discuss about the template tags. So other than the context variable we can also utilize variety of template tags in our templates. So for example we can utilize the if else tag to implement if else condition. In the similar manner we can also use for loop in our templates by using the for loop tag, and there are many more tags that we can implement just like we implement things in our Python program. So let's discuss about each of these template tags with the help of an example. So here I am back to my Visual Studio Code, and I have opened this index.html file. So what I will do after this, let me define an unordered list here, and let me print first name and last name separately. So after defining the first name last name, if I refresh this page, here you can see first name and last name has been printed. So first name is Tony and last name is Stark. Now very first and very common template tag that we can generally use in our template is the comment tag. And how we can use that? For this what we need to do, we need to use curly brackets, and within that we need to use percentage sign 2 times, and within that percentage sign we need to type comment. Now how we can end a comment? We need to use the same syntax, curly brackets, and then within that we need to use percentage sign. To end any comment we need to write end comment. Now I guess everybody knows what is a comment is. So anything that is defined within this comment block, that will be ignored in our template. So here you can see I have kept last name in this part of my comment block. So last name will be ignored whenever my template is been rendered. So again if I refresh this page, here you can see the last name disappears from the result because we have commented that part. Now next important tag that we generally use is the for loop tag. So just like we implement for loop in our Python program to iterate over a list of iterables, where iterables can be we can say list, set or dictionary, or we can also iterate over a string value. In the same way we can use the for loop tags to implement for loop in our template. Now moreover what we were doing in our previous example, we have defined multiple variables and we were passing those variables as a dictionary. So instead of defining variables, we can directly define dictionary, and then in that dictionary we can define multiple key value pairs, and those key value pairs will be passed as a context variable to our template. So let me name this dictionary as context, and to define a dictionary we use curly brackets. And what I will do in this, I will define a simple key value pair. So here I have defined cities as my key, and the values for city is a list which contains some name of cities. Now what I need to do to return this context variable, so I don't need to define any dictionary this time. I simply need to pass context. So this context will be returned to our index.html page. Now let me remove this part and let me add something else. So here you can see I have defined this h1 which represents the list of cities in United States. Then I have defined one ordered list, and after this I am using for loop. So how I am using this for loop, so again the syntax of defining this is same. I need to define for loop in the curly brackets with percentage sign. So for is the very first keyword, then is the looping variable. So this time I have named this looping variable as city, then the in keyword, and then the iterable. So in our case the iterable is cities, which is a list. So what I am doing, I am using this for loop to iterate over each city name which is given in the list. And after this there is one more additional step that we need to follow. We need to end our for loop, and for this we need to define end for tag. Now if I open my index page and refresh this, here on the screen you can see the result. So list of cities in United States, these are the set of names that were defined in the list. Now there is one more option which is available with the for loop. We can also utilize for empty loop. Now what happens is that till now our list was having some sort of content, and when we use the for loop it was iterated over each item. But what if there is any circumstance when our list is empty? For example, if I put this cities list as empty and then I pass it back to the index.html page, now what will happen? It will not return anything. If I refresh this page, you can see I didn't get any result. Now to handle such cases, we can also utilize empty block with our for loop. So after defining the city looping variable, I will define another block with name empty. Now with this our empty block has been started. Now here I can define anything else as well. So let me define text with, so here you can see I have defined this line, sorry no city name found. So what will happen in the for loop, it will try to iterate over each item, but if the list is empty, then this empty part, then the part which we have defined here after the empty block has been executed, else it will return everything which is there in the list. So here you can see I have already emptied my cities list. So if I come back to my page and again refresh this, here you can see it has returned this thing, sorry no city name found. So with this we have understood how we can use for loop in our template. Now let's move to the next topic, which is about using the if else tag. And again, just like for loop, we can also implement if else. Again I will comment this part out, and this time what I will do, I will simply define a variable. Let me name this variable as city underscore name, and let me define the value as Austin. And as I have defined only a single variable, I need to pass this variable as a dictionary. Now what we have done in this view, we have simply defined one variable with name city underscore name, and then we have returned that variable back to the template. Now let's come back to the index page and let's see how we can use it. So what I have done in this HTML file, first I have defined h1 with this string, list of cities in United States. Then I have defined one unordered list. Now here you can see in the HTML file I have put some tags. So first I have defined this h1 tag which represents city name. So first city name will be printed. Then I have defined this unordered list. Now what I have done within this unordered list, I have used this if else if statement. So how we can use that? So we just need to use curly brackets with percentage sign, and within that we need to use the if statement just like we do in our Python program. So I have checking whether city name is Houston or not. So if the city name is Houston, then the area of that city will be printed out. And after this, in the same manner, we have used this else if statement. So by the elif statement, we are checking whether the city name is Dallas or not. So if the city name is Dallas, then the area of that city will be printed. And in the last we have used this else block. Whenever some other name is there as a city name, it will return no data available. So if I come back to my index page and refresh this, so here you can see what happens. Actually I have made one small spelling mistake here. So instead of Houston, I have written Houston. So that's why it has returned this thing, that no data available. So if I come back to my view file, and here if I replace A with O, and again if I refresh this page, now here you can see city name Houston and the area of that city has been printed. In the same manner, if I change this Houston to Dallas and again refresh this page, you can see the area for Dallas is been printed. So with this we have discussed these four different template tags. So we have discussed about the comment tag, then we have discussed about the for loop tag. In the same manner we have discussed about the for empty loop tag, and the last we have discussed about the if else tag. Now let's move forward and let's learn about filters in the Django template. So filters in Django are utilized to change the value of either a variable, or it can also be utilized as a tag argument. Now till now in this tutorial we have discussed some of the common Django template tags. Now on the other hand, filters are utilized to increase the value of a variable or to perform some sort of operation on that value. Now to use that filter in Django template we use the following syntax. So again, to define filter, so how we define any value in our Django template, we use double curly brackets. So very first thing will be the variable or the value that we want. Then after this we just use one pipe character, and after that pipe character we define the name of the filter. So here are the list of some common filters that we can use in Django. So very first filter is length, that returns the length of the list. Then there is add, which is utilized to add the given integer argument to the specified value. Then there is cap first, which is utilized to capitalize the first letter of the given string value. And in the same manner there are many different type of filters that we can use. We have defined some common filters in the document which is available with this video. So for the filters part you can refer to that. Let's come to the part of the example. Let's understand how we can use filters with the help of an example. What I will do for this, I will define another view. Now here you can see the example related to this. So what we have done in this example, first we have imported this datetime module. So we are going to use the datetime module in this method. Then we have defined this template dictionary. Now within this template dictionary we have defined multiple values. So we have defined state name, which is California. Now here you can see the name California is all in a running case. Then there is another key with name cities, and we have defined a list of values. Now in this also you can see there are some characters there in the uppercase and some characters which are there in the lower case. And then we have defined another variable with name current date time, and then we are using the now function which is there in the datetime class. So what this now function will do, it will return the current date time, and in the end what we are doing, we are returning this context to the template. So our template is index.html. So I will open this index.html page. Here you can see we have used all these filters. So first what I have done, I am printing the state name. So I have used the state underscore name variable. Now here I have used this filter with name cap first. So what this filter will do, it will capitalize the very first character in the given string value. So you can see here easily the very first letter in the state name was not capital. So by this filter we are capitalizing that character. Then we are printing out the current date. Now how we can fetch the current date from the date time value? For this we need to use the date filter, and with that date filter we need to define the format in which we want the date. So I want so here capital D represents the day, small d represents the date, M represents the month, and Y represents the year. After this we are using the time filter to fetch the time, and we are fetching the time in hours. Then we are fetching the length of the cities list. So this length filter will return the length of the list. Then there is title filter, which is utilized on the again cities list. So what this title filter will do, it will capitalize the very first character. So it will keep the string value as a title for that. So what was happening before? Here you can see there are different names, city names in our list, and there are many city names which are not starting with a capital letter. So the role of the title filter is to keep all the city names properly. And in the last, what we are doing, we are using the random filter. So what this random filter will do, it will randomly fetch any value from the given list. So our list is cities, so it will randomly select any city name and return that as a result. So if I refresh this page, here you can see state name is California, and now here you can see the C for California here is capital. Then we are fetching the current date, and as I told you, very capital M character represents day, then capital D character represents the day, small d represents the date, M represents the month, and Y represents the year. Then we are simply fetching the current time using the time filter. Then total number of cities is 5. So here we have used the length filter, which has returned the length of the list, which is 5. And then we have returned the whole cities list. Now each name in the city list will be represented as title. So that's why you can see very first character in each word is capital. L is capital, then D is also capital, and in the last we have used the random filter. So what this random filter will do, it will randomly fetch any name from the list of cities and return any name. So again, if I refresh this page again, next time also you will see some other name. So with this, I hope you all understand the concept of context variable, template tags and filters. And with this, we have come to the end of this tutorial session. Thank you so much for watching this video. We will see you in the next one.